first one is by Wandering 33. It's titled The Road Trip, a true account of a creepy situation during a family vacation. When I was younger, each summer and almost every New Year, my family would pack the car and go on a road trip to visit family in Mexico. We never had any problems until one particular trip when I was 8. Like every road trip before, we left our home in North Texas around 6 p.m. in order to reach our destination the next morning. So around 2 a.m. we crossed into Mexico, and that's when things got weird. When you're on the only stretch of freeway in the middle of the desert, you don't tend to freak out about having the same car behind you for miles. It was practically pitch black outside our car windows, the only visible shapes being the dotted stars and eerie silhouettes of the cacti. We'd been in Mexico for about an hour and still had a few more to drive, and I remember sleeping but still being semi-conscious of what was around me, because I didn't have the skill to really fall asleep in the car. So when my mother suddenly spoke my dad's name, I heard her. Miguel, that car behind us. It's been behind us since we left Laredo. My dad peeked at the car and shrugged off my mother's tension. A lot of cars use this road. He's probably going to Reynosa or another city, and left it at that. Despite his sureness, my mum kept a wary eye on the car behind us. By this time, my siblings and I were hyper aware of the car and entertained ourselves with watching the car through the gaps in the luggage that blocked the rear window. We got tired pretty quick. He's getting closer, my mother noted, and we turned to watch as the car inched closer and closer to ours. He's too close, Miguel. And she was right. By this time, the car was practically pressed against the rear of our car, and on a lonely stretch of highway in the middle of nowhere with another few hours until daylight. It was downright scary. We couldn't do much. My dad didn't slow down, didn't stop, and he didn't speed away either. He just drove, and the car followed. The next 30 minutes were the most tense we had ever experienced. The car would ease off, sometimes only to press its blinding headlights against our rear once more. Like he knew he was freaking us out and was enjoying it. It was during one of the periods that the car had pulled away that my mum spotted a police car up ahead, parked on the side of the road, and she didn't miss a beat. Pull over, right in front of the police, pull over right now, Miguel. And he did. And the car kept driving. I wonder how confused the policeman must have been as he watched my dad park our car right in front of him. The policeman came over and asked us what was wrong, and my mother urgently told him everything. The car, the way it followed us and taunted us. The policeman took a claim seriously and told us how people were victimized and had their cars stolen on these empty highways by thugs and criminals. And he offered to drive behind us for a while to make us feel safe. We drove off with the police cruiser behind us, relieved, until about 10 minutes later when we saw something that confirmed the policeman's words and my mother's worst fears. 10 minutes later, we saw the car pulled over on the side of the road, waiting. That is so creepy. My heart would absolutely sink. Seeing that, like sometimes once you've left a tense situation, every now and then you kind of gaslight yourself into thinking, oh, maybe I was overreacting, like maybe that's not used my car and both my sister and husband's car to transport everything and all of us. We had rented a beach house for a little over a week and had a pretty great time. I was in the middle of a difficult point in my life and struggling with employment and being in between jobs. And having just started 2 new jobs fresh, I was a little low on funds and worried about making my car payments and the like. So I opted to head home 2 days early with my car so I could try and get more hours at work. My family expressed being nervous as I planned to leave after dinner and drive through the night to get home. I consoled them that I'd be okay to be up all night and I'd head straight home and only stop for gas and food as needed. I'm an excellent driver, a tad impatient, so I tend to go until I absolutely had to stop and take a break. However, this would be a 12-hour trip and I knew I would need breaks, so I made a point to stop at every rest stop to at least get out and stretch, so I stayed awake and didn't get too sore. Going through West Virginia, I'm sure you guys know how secluded their rest stops and visitor centers and the like are, especially when you're heading north from the south going through the mountains. I stopped at a visitor center because they advertised having fast food and I had to be like a racehorse. This was sometimes very late at night, maybe 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. Side note, that sent shivers down my spine after what happened. I like to drive barefoot, so I pulled in and noticed the buildings with fast food were closed. So I drove around the lot and parked under a street light in front of the visitor center so I could use the restroom. Leaning out of my car door, I took my time putting my shoes on to walk inside, having looked around and not seeing anything out of the ordinary. I checked my phone and grabbed my wallet before standing up to walk in, making sure my car horn beeped to signal my doors were locked. Walking towards the center, I saw a man in a white hoodie standing at the edge of the sidewalk, leading into the center. I didn't think much of it until I passed him and got an off vibe. I glanced over my shoulder and he was watching me walk in. For some reason, I glanced to my left as I turned back to face forward and noted another man sitting at the benches that were on the other side of the tall, thin bushes. Instantly, I thought, nope, nope, nope. I went in and peed, and before I walked out of the bathroom, I called my roommate. As dumb as it was, because he was a good 4 to 6 hours away, I just felt safer. I gave him a quick rundown of my situation and made him stay on the phone with me. I started to walk out and I couldn't see the man at the front of the sidewalk anymore. I glanced to my now right and saw both men standing next to a bench. Facing forward, I saw a couple walking in to presumably use the restroom as well. I had an impulse to ask them to walk me, but my paranoia kicked in because I knew something was wrong somewhere in my situation, and I didn't ask, thinking they might know the men. Walking briskly to my car, I explained to my roommate that the men were by the benches. Tearing the smallest of peeks over my shoulder again, I saw the man in the white hoodie walking towards me, and I told my roommate. Walking a few more paces forward, I looked back again and saw his pace had quickened. At this point, I told my roommate he's following me to my car and I booked it. I thankfully had a key fob, got my key out ready, and unlocked my car and practically threw myself in. Not daring a glance back, I threw my car in reverse and gunned it backwards before going back into drive and sped off. I didn't even stop to put my seatbelt on till I was at the exit to leave the parking lot. I didn't look back once. Stopped at the next toll road and filed a report, and the workers called for state troopers to head over and check things out. I didn't stop refused to get out of my car until I was home. I horrified myself at the thought of, if those guys had paid attention and made them move more quickly, they could have incapacitated me at my car while I was facing the ground and putting my shoes on, and I could have had absolutely no defense. That's really scary. If I saw like some sketchy looking guys outside like a bathroom, I would honestly, like, I assume they, because they said it's like a quiet road through the mountains, that it's more secluded, I would honestly find somewhere along the road, like quite a bit further down, completely secluded, and like, I was gonna say go pee in a bush, but I don't know what these roads are like actually. I don't know if there's any bushes around, so maybe not. But if there was, that's what I would do, because I would be far too scared to walk past those guys. Okay, this next one is by _Blanche_man. It is titled, "Don't Ever Sleep in Your Car on a Road Trip." I'm from Connecticut. I was in a long-distance relationship with a girl from Georgia and would often make road trips down to visit her. I don't really mind, I love road trips. I've driven across the United States and back all on my own. There's just something about traveling the highways of the US by yourself that's just so freeing. To save money, I would sleep in my car. It's not so bad, it's basically camping in a metal tent. Makes you feel like you're really roughing it. I just recline the seat back, keep the key in the ignition just in case, and doze off. No, I don't put anything up to block the windows for privacy. Maybe I should have. The trip down south is comfortable. It's a 2-day drive. My stop would usually be somewhere along the Virginia-North Carolina border. So for my previous trip, that's exactly where I stopped that night. Rest stops were often less trafficked and thus quieter than truck stops. Normally I would have stopped at a Love's, but I was so tired that I settled for the first rest stop I saw. It was oddly vacant that night, with only a couple lone cars sitting full on under the amber street lamps. Most likely travellers with the same idea as myself. I pulled into a parking spot away from the others, under the shadow of a tree and far from the street lamps. I figured I would have more privacy there, as opposed to being bathed in light. So I did my usual thing. Locked my doors, opened the window just a hair for ventilation. Kept my key in, reclined the seat, and went to sleep. I was never interrupted on any of these car camping nights. So I never suspected anything on this one. Then a sharp tap woke me up. At first I thought I had heard it in my dream. I opened my eyes, a bit confused. Since I was leaned back, I was facing the ceiling and couldn't see anything. I hear another tap, like a tiny object hitting a hard surface. It came in an irregular rhythm. Was it raining? Was water dripping onto my windshield? I'm under a tree. Maybe something fell from the branches. Maybe a squirrel or a bird was dropping something. What if a squirrel was climbing around my car? Or what if it wasn't an animal? The thought occurred to me that it might very well be a person poking around outside. What did they want? Were the doors locked? Yes, the keys were in the ignition. I can leave in an instant. Still, I lay there completely still, pretending to be asleep, pretending I hadn't heard anything, hoping whoever it was, they would leave me alone. It was better to not find out. I was too afraid to find out. It was better to stay here in blissful ignorance. Still, the tapping continued. I had to do something. There was no way I was just going to stay there. I had to look. My heart was pounding. In that moment, it was deafeningly loud. Whoever was out there could probably hear it. I decided I was going to look. I was going to raise my head up and see what was making the noise. So that's what I did. What met my eyes sent a jolt through my entire body. Every muscle fibre locked up in pure shock at what I saw. The faint glow of the street lamps cast just enough light for me to make out what I was looking at. There, in the windshield, staring directly at me, was a face. Someone I presumed to be a woman was lying on my hood, her face pressed right up against my windshield. Her face was completely still, locked in a permanent grin. I froze in overwhelming terror. The eyes I stared into appeared to have rolled back, showing only the whites. The nose was turned up, pressed painfully into the glass, the lips stretched wide, revealing horrid rotten teeth. Even in the darkness I could tell her skin was sickly pale, contrasting her long, filthy black hair. Whoever this was, she was clearly not in her right mind. I don't know how long I sat there, too afraid to move. I finally got a grip on myself and shot my hand into the ignition. It turned over, making, in an instant, the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. For a split second I was afraid I might be caught in a horror movie scenario, the one where the car won't crank as the killer approaches. I reversed as fast as I could, trying not to give this creeper time to try anything. In my panic, I remember activating the windshield wipers in a futile attempt to get her off. I thought, was I about to drive out of here with some wacko holding onto my hood? Thankfully, I didn't have to worry about that, because as soon as I stopped, the woman leapt off, landing on all fours. Seeing my opportunity, I shifted into drive and gunned it, right as I saw her reaching for the driver's side door. With my foot on the gas, I sped out of the parking lot behind me. I heard her let out a piercing shriek like that of an animal. I looked in my rearview mirror, and for a split second I thought I saw her chasing me, running on all fours, her black hair swinging wildly around her. I couldn't get a good look as I rounded a curve in the road leading out the rest stop and merged with the highway. There, I picked up speed and drove through the night. I did not dare stop again until I saw the morning light. That is so scary to me. I could not. Like sleep in a car at night, especially by myself. I'm so afraid of looking outside of windows at night, like even my own bedroom window, even though it's silly. I always expect to see something creepy out there. I couldn't do it. This next story is by Divine Anime 1. It's titled, I'll Never Go on a Road Trip Again After What I Saw That Night. I don't even know why I'm writing this, except maybe I need to put it out there before it drives me insane. My name's Alex Carson, and I'm writing this on a plane at 35,000 feet, heading back to my home in Oregon. I was supposed to be on the road for another week, finishing a cross-country trip I'd planned to clear my head after my divorce. But something happened, something I can't explain, and now I'm leaving my car behind, arranging for it to be shipped back to me, because there's no way I'm ever taking that route again. I left Denver a week ago. I wasn't in a hurry, just taking my time, driving wherever the mood struck me. By the second day, I found myself on Highway 16, deep in the Midwest. It's one of those roads that feels endless, stretching through flat plains, dense woods, and the occasional ghost of a town. Perfect for the solitude I was craving. That first night I pulled into a small motel. It was the kind of place you'd pass without noticing a squat building with recognizing a squat building with peeling paint and a flickering neon sign. I checked in, ate a cold sandwich from a gas station, and tried to relax. But I couldn't shake this odd feeling like someone was watching me. It was subtle at first, just a tingle at the back of my neck. I told myself it was just my nerves. After all, I'd been through a lot recently, and maybe the loneliness of the road was messing with my head. But when I'd stepped outside for some air, I saw him, or it. At first I thought it was a man. He was standing far down the road, just outside the glow of the motel's lights. He didn't move, just stood there, facing me. Great, a small-town weirdo, I muttered, heading back inside and locking the door. I tried to tell myself it wasn't worth worrying about, but I kept peeking through the blinds. He, or whatever it was, didn't move the whole time. The next day I hit the road early, trying to put distance between myself and that motel. The morning was crisp, the kind of weather that usually clears your head. But as the miles rolled by, I couldn't shake the unease from the night before. Around mid-afternoon, as I drove past a dense stretch of woods, I heard it. Footsteps. At first I thought I was imagining things. I had the windows cracked and I thought it might just be the wind or the tires crunching gravel. But the sound was too rhythmic, too deliberate. It took me a while to realize what was wrong. The footsteps weren't coming from inside the car, they were outside. And they were keeping pace with me. I slowed down, almost to a crawl, but the sound didn't stop. It stayed with me, matching my speed exactly. I stopped the car entirely, my hands shaking, and rolled down the window. The woods were silent, except for the soft rustling of leaves. But then I heard it again, closer this time. I slammed the window shut, my heart racing, and sped off down the road. I didn't stop until I reached the next town, where I checked into another motel. That night I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the building, every gust of wind felt like something trying to get in. By the third day I was exhausted. My nerves were shot, but I kept telling myself I was overreacting. I had to be. The loneliness of the road, the lingering stress from the divorce. It was all in my head. At least that's what I thought until the accident. It happened just after lunch. I'd been driving for 4 hours when I hit a deep pothole. The car jolted violently and I heard the sickening sound of something snapping. I pulled over and saw the damage. The front axle was slightly bent and one of the tires was flat. I had no choice but to fix it myself. I grabbed the jack and spare from the trunk and got to work. That's when I felt it again, that suffocating feeling of being watched. I straightened up and scanned the road. It was empty, but the woods just beyond the ditch. They were too quiet, no birds, no insects, nothing. And then I saw him. The figure was standing just inside the tree line, maybe 50 feet away. It was the same shape I'd seen outside the motel, but now it was closer. I froze, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it might burst. The thing wasn't moving. "Who's there?" I shouted, trying to sound braver than I felt. No response. I turned back to the car, working as fast as I could to change the tire. But every few seconds I would glance back, and each time the figure was closer. It wasn't walking, it wasn't even moving in the way a person should. It was just there, suddenly in a new spot. By the time I finished, it was less than 20 feet away. The face, or what should have been a face, was long and pale, with hollow black bits where the eye should have been. And then it smiled. It was the most unnatural thing I've ever seen. Like someone who didn't understand how smiles worked. Too wide, too sharp. I didn't wait to see what would happen next. I threw the tools into the trunk, jumped into the car, and floored it. I didn't stop driving until reached a small airport on the outskirts of a larger town. I didn't care about the cost. I booked the first flight and left my car in the parking lot. Now, as I sit on this plane, I keep replaying the last moments in my mind. As I drove away, I glanced in the rearview mirror. The figure was standing in the middle of the road watching me, and just before I lost sight of it, I swear I heard it whisper my name. That's definitely super creepy. Super creepy. I would not stop. Like, I'd be too afraid. We have 2 more stories, but they're quite a bit longer. And I unfortunately do not have time to read them today. So we are gonna end tonight's video here, and we will read them